boy, it's a quick turnaround. It seems odd that we're already here in the spring practice, but I know everybody's looking forward to it. I'd say congratulations to Coach Kruger and our basketball team and the way they've been playing. It's really exciting, all the energy they've created and you know, the way their season's going, and Coach Cole, that they hopefully they finish well. Our guys here in the last couple of months since the Sugar Bowl, maybe, you know, just talking to Jerry Schmidt, one of our strength coach, and all our coaches that have been working, developing our guys through the out of season, really believe it's been either our best or one of our best years that we've had in the out of season, just with the way the players, the gains they're making, the overall speed, the attitude, the work ethic, all of that. It's really been positive. We've had a chance, our coaches, we do stations with our guys a couple times a week in the last 3 weeks, and again, really excited about the overall attitude and preparation in the way our guys are working. Really, they've done an excellent job, so we're in great shape coming in to spring ball. We're going to start on the weekend here to take advantage of non-school days, so we're going to start Saturday and Sunday with our first 2 practices here this coming Saturday, and feel like we're in great position, and with the momentum from the Sugar Bowl going forward. You know, I rather than go by position, I'll just address maybe the quarterback situation. Obviously, Trevor Knight, with the way he performed and in the Sugar Bowl, and what we've seen really not just in that game over the last year and a half. We're excited about the fact that he's only a sophomore, and the development we feel will just continue in a really strong way. Cody Thomas, Coach Heupel, has done an excellent job just managing Cody with baseball, still getting his opportunity to have him prepared, and Cody's done it really well. So we're, feel really pleased about, merging those two or just allowing those two to continue to happen. But he's really a strong, big athlete, and Justice Hansen's here working already. So we'll go, and as a true freshman, again, big, strong guy that moves well. So we'll just move forward with those 3 guys. Blake's made a great transition to tight end. Really, has done a great job continuing to build his strength and size. He's up to about 257, moving well. Won his first tug-of-war individual battle yesterday. We usually don't have our quarterbacks in our out-of-season in any of those competitions, but Blake one-on-one beat one of the D linemen, so fired up about that. So anyway, we're going forward. Some positions, that some guys that won't be involved. Tyrus Thompson, Adam Shedd, again, they're in. We won't have them in spring ball, but they're guys that have played a ton of football. Also, Jordan Phillips won't participate. I'm trying to think who else. Julian Wilson also had a shoulder operation. He won't participate. But all these guys have played a lot of football, and they're all expected to be healed up to begin the summer work, which will be important to have them ready for two-a-days. So anyway, we're excited to be back on the field with the guys and do what we do as coaches, and no changeover, obviously, in the coaching staff. Everything's consistent there. So I'll open it up for questions.
Bob, in Blake's transition, is his biggest adjustment, I guess, just the point of attack?
Well, sure. I mean, but he's a tough, competitive athlete that, I believe he'll handle that well.
What about, is there a situation, being a quarterback, obviously, football is physical no matter what position you play, but you're trying to avoid contact with the quarterback. Now you're tight end. Is there an attitudinal change he has to kind of go through changing that position?
Well, I don't believe there is when you're in the middle of competition. When he's in a game, whether you're a quarterback or anybody, you're playing aggressive and physical as you have to. But obviously there'll be more physical contact in the fact that you're at tight end, snap, at the line of scrimmage every down, as opposed to in the backfield. So sure, there's a big difference.
Is Blake one of those guys that can gain a lot of weight if he wants? I mean, do you have to watch that almost with him at tight end?
No, he doesn't have a, it's not like he has to hold it down by any means. No, he's right where he naturally is. But I think a year ago to stay a little looser, he intentionally kept a little bit off. Now he can, gain 5 or 6, 8 pounds, and he doesn't need much, So I think he's really where he needs to be now.
Said what, 257? Is that's good for him? You'll try and keep him
probably right around there. Mm-hmm.
Coach Heupel indicated that a couple of years ago he kind of took some snaps at tight end. Do you recall that, and how did he look back then?
I recall it a little bit, but it wasn't much. It wasn't enough to really know.
Bob, could you talk about that position a little bit? Because you have a lot of young talent there now. You have Blake, who's a senior.
Yeah, Taylor McNamara is a guy that caught a ball in the Sugar Bowl that's come on, and we're excited about. Isaac Ijalana, the junior college guy, is another guy that's a talented guy coming in. Aaron Ripkowski, to be quite honest with you, played tight end really well a year ago. You will watch his games in the second half of the year. He was outstanding in that position, blocking and at the point of attack.
Is the Bulldozer officially dead, or is that something you might still use?
No, that's something that we could still use. With Blake back there, sure.
It seems like you could define 1, 2, 3 at quarterback. How does that change you guys going into the spring if it's not kind of wide open competition like it has been a couple times?
It doesn't change anything. I mean, you ask our player, we'll go out and practice, and no one thinks twice about it. It doesn't mean anything to us. It just, the outside world loves to talk about it. What we do every day, it doesn't change a thing.
Said Julian will be sitting out. Can you talk about your safety position, kind of how guys shake out there?
Yeah. Let's see. Obviously, Quentin Hayes started the entire years back, and then we really excited about Ahmad Thomas, Atari Bird. Those guys. Julian could play that position as well, but he won't be there in the spring. But those other guys are really good football players that we're going to be excited to see get more and more snaps this year, and Ahmad had the most a year ago, and when he was in, he played well. So he's a really strong, powerful guy, and as is Atari. So we, those guys we feel good about, they'll be able to come in and make a difference.
Will one of those guys work at the nickel with Julian out?
Unsure. Let's see. Ahmad has moved up once in a while. There he can. But we can use Stan Von Taylor in there. We could use a bunch of, Mike and Coach Wright will, figure out who they want to work in and out of that position.
I know you played Dakota Austin a little bit late in the season, but that position taken over for Aaron Colvin, I assume that's Cortez and Stan Vaughn involved there as well. All
of them, yeah. They're all good players and have gotten better, had excellent bowl work, and so we just got to build on it. It's just like every year, you come guys graduate and other guys that they're ready to take over. So. And I believe those guys are all really good football players. There'll be good competition, and we'll see who is the most consistent, making the most plays.
What was special about Dakota that got him on the field there toward the end of the season?
Everything. Competitive, smart in the way he plays, understands what we're doing, has got a great feel for it. So, had great bowl preparation as well.
Bob, you're pretty young and relatively inexperienced at the running back position. What do you look to get out of those guys this spring?
They're good players, so I just want to see consistency. Guys taking care of the football, understand what they're asked to do, protect routes. Are they doing the right things? Are they where they should be? And who can make big plays? Who makes something when there's not much there? Who can really make a play? But be honest with you, big part of it's taking care of the ball. You could be big play all you want, and if that ball's on the ground every, 10 times you touch the ball, it's going to be hard for them to stay on the field.
Cale came in.
Was a guy that had some fumbling issues earlier, but you played him late, played him in bowl games. I guess he's getting better at that, taking care of the ball.
So far, he didn't fumble it in the bowl game, and he's taking care of it. But Keith's an excellent player, really talented guy. But as is all of them, all those guys, Alex Ross, on and on. So we'll see. Those guys will have their opportunities, and a lot of them here through spring.
We saw Cale on signing day, and he seemed optimistic that perhaps Alex was ready to take his step forward finally. You see that from him as well?
Yeah, I believe he is. He's had a really good winter. He had good bowl practices also. So, I believe he is ready, for that to happen. Hopefully he is.
Will you continue to work Darrell Williams at left tackle a little bit this spring, and you going to move anybody over at center for some depth there?
Neela can always works in at center, also to go, let's see here. Neela, I believe, just between he and Ty will work in there. Darrell will leave. I believe we'll leave at right tackle, just knowing Tyrus will be back and get those other guys, a lot of reps. Josiah St. John's really had a good winter, and believe he's got a chance now to really step in and help at the tackle position with Derek Farniak as well.
I know it's just been a year, but how is Tyler Evans in coming back?
He's doing great. Scott, and he won't go through spring ball, but his rehab is really going well. He's been running. I saw him running just when we were doing our stations the other day, so he's now running again, and so Tyler is making a good comeback.
Looks like you beat back the 10-second rule, at least for now. Were you guys having to do some strategic preparation in case that rule passed?
No, we hadn't. I never believed it would pass, and so we haven't had any discussions on how we would modify anything if it did.
How pleased are we? We know you're pleased, but how pleased are you that it looks like?
Well, I just think it's the right thing to do. We put out an article here that our one of our assistant athletic directors, Kenny Mossman, as you guys all know, put out that it dates back over 100 years. Benny Owen and Coach Yost were doing it, and Bud Wilkinson beat Maryland in the Orange Bowl back when he went to it after halftime of a game, and there isn't any logic to it in that. Not logic, but there's just no statistical evidence that says that. And to me, the biggest, why it shouldn't be passed. If anything can be done in the last 2 minutes of a half, why can't you do it the rest of the game? I mean, they don't allow targeting the last 2 minutes of a game or of a half, So if you can do it then, you can do it anytime. And again, what do you got teams that are down, 2 scores or 3 scores, and you're in the middle of the fourth quarter, or you only have the fourth quarter to have a chance to come back. You better start snapping the ball and being efficient that way. So defenses just need to be more efficient in how they deal with it. That's the adjustments they have to make, and or stay on the field and don't let them have the ball.
When one of the arguments is just the length of games, more plays leads to more injuries, which is probably true. Would you be in favor of shortening the game in other ways, whether it's first get rid of the clock stopping on first downs?
You can make, if they want to shorten the game, make it like the NFL clock. But that's what the NFL does to manage plays and to fit their game into a window that fits TV. But I don't see them changing how the pace of play in regard to how they play. It just is. That's part of football, and always has been. So I don't see why that would ever change.
Do you expect this? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's it.
Do you expect this fight over pace of play to be ongoing? Do you think that there'll be more efforts to curb the up-tempo offenses?
I don't know if there will or not. Doesn't it was a pretty strong vote of the coaches who opposed it as opposed to who were in favor of it. So.
Big 12 hadn't had 8 referee was kind of supposed to be something to control the game pace a little bit more. How do you feel like that worked out over the years?
You know, I didn't notice the 8th official whatsoever, so that must mean it was good. In my mind, it seemed I thought our games were officiated really well overall. So I think it was probably a good idea, you know, or it seemed to be to me that it was positive, the 8th official.
You guys got some recruiting momentum from that win against Alabama. Did that continue through the winter, and do you expect that something to continue through the spring, or is that in the past you don't talk about it, or is there still people talking about that?
Oh, I mean, you know, there's a positive, you know, momentum from it. Sure, you know, I believe it isn't just that, but I believe it's the work of our assistant coaches in recruiting, and myself in that. You know, there's, you know, the positive, the way we finished, you know, in recruiting, there's some to do with that as well. So it's hard to determine which is because of the game, which is due to hard work and you know, the consistent success we've had as well. So it's been positive though.
How is it, I mean, how do you kind of harness that as a program? Because I know you always say you want the players not to rely on, you know, past accomplishments. Every year's a new year, but you have to take a little bit of that for some confidence in your players?
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, just not letting your players, you know, live off of you know, last year's success.
Well, it's obvious to me they're not, in that we've had the best, according to Coach Schmidt, probably the best winter we've ever had. So they're not sitting back thinking about that and not doing what they need to do moving forward. I think more than anything, it's made them hungrier to build on it. You know, and you know, and to keep improving.
Coach, what is Blake's mindset like moving into this transition? Embracing his new role or looking at it as a challenge?
Sure, he's embraced it. He's excited about it. Genuinely talking to him, he is really excited to have the opportunity, and you know, excited because he believes it's going to be really good for him, and we do as well.
When we talked to your players during bowl practice and you had a chance to see some of the younger guys that month, one of the names that kept coming up was Charles Walker. I was wondering if you could address what
Charles has really been impressive. Had a great fall. You know, he's a guy that's up to about 300 pounds now, light on his feet. Ran really well when we timed. I want to say ran in the 4.7s. So really has a bright future. Big, works hard. So Charles is going to be a big factor in that defensive line, and to go with the rest of them. You know, some other guys, trying to think here. Jordan Smallwood was really impressive. They finally turned him loose to practice in the bowl practices. Really was impressive. And then I already talked about the young safeties, and trying to think some of the other guys that hadn't. Michael Anoha really is a guy also ready to make a big move in that defensive line. DJ Ward also. Devontae Bond has really looked impressive in our workouts and the way he's moving around and the strength. I don't know anyone else. I'm trying to think who hasn't been. You haven't seen much. KJ
Young's name got brought up.
KJ's done a good job. Has had a good winter. Definitely, you know, that receiver group. Dannon Cavill. There's a lot of good players. Austin Bennett. Derek Woods made a huge play in the Sugar Bowl. Is a guy that you know, has come on. Deron Neal played a lot last year. So some guys that don't have a ton of experience, but I believe there's a lot of really good ability there.
With the no hunt.
You actually see what a DJ Ward can do. I mean, because he's basically missed 2 years of football his senior year. Then last year, I know he was going through practice, but he was kind of hurt and everything else.
Yeah, but it's kind of like riding a bike, you know. He hadn't totally forgot about it, so DJ's going to do well. He's really had an excellent winter, lifting, running, you know, with strength and all that. So we threw him out there in the spring game after not practicing the whole spring. He looked pretty good taking off the ball, you know, coming off the football. So yeah, I believe he's going to do really well.
Noha and Ward, are they both 4 techniques? Are they outside stand-up guys or?
Right now, 4 techniques, but what we experiment with all those guys who can stand up and play out a little bit and who can't. So we'll look at them. But or to stand over a tight end. We.
Is Obo another guy that fits into that category?
Yeah, Obo's another guy that's is up to 245 now and more powerful. So.
I know you mentioned Smallwood being impressive, but can you talk about your receiver position and how key that is for the spring, losing guys like Jalen and LeColton?
Yeah, those guys, were big play guys. But, it's kind of like, and I'm not sitting here being whatever, but, in the end, it's like last year we didn't have any D linemen. Well, we did. Now we don't have any receivers. Well, we do. These guys are now have been developing, training, and are ready to take over. And, like I said, Derek Woods made a huge play in the Sugar Bowl when we had to have it on a 3rd and 12 or whatever it was, competitive play. Sterling had one of the best games, after us evaluating. I was watching it, had as good a receiver game as we've ever had. I mean, he had a monster game, and not just the big plays, even some of the smaller, the tighter, competitive, tough plays. Sterling will be a guy that obviously we're going to go to more and more. Deron Neal made some plays a year ago that now we're going to have to be more. Those guys just have to be more consistent and stay on the field. And then some of the younger guys, the bigger guys like Jordan Smallwood and Dan and Cadville, I believe are really ready to, to now start, to make some plays. And KJ's in that mix too. So it's a good group. They just haven't had a ton of time on the field.
Bob, you've had a lot of highly successful quarterbacks here. After Trevor's performance in the Sugar Bowl, he, I assume, will take on a little bit more of maybe a celebrity status around town, around campus. Have you talked to him about how to deal with that? And if so, what have you told him?
No, I haven't yet. I know Trevor's a guy that very spiritual, does a lot of church activities and things, and that'll be up to him to a degree. What we have always done is tried to manage how much, whether it be media, what the time commitments are because of school, because of meetings, to do what he has to do and to still enjoy being here. That's part of it. So, and I think through the years, Coach Heupel, Chuck Long, before him, have done a really good job managing that. And I trust those guys that are with them, in all the meetings, that they understand it a little bit better, and they've been in that position. So between Josh and I, we'll do our best to advise them and manage it, that it doesn't become overwhelming, But Trevor's a bright, sharp guy that'll, he'll manage it the right way.
You talk about the importance of Cody and Justice in the spring, working for backup roles for Trevor next fall.
Yeah, it'll be that's a big part of our team's success, is those guys coming around and getting a really consistent and good feel of what we want them to do at the quarterback position, those young guys. So, so it'll be really important that we do a good job with them and that they work hard here through the spring.
You've had a lot of guys that have been early enrollees, and even at the quarterback position, but a lot of time those guys come in. I remember Kendall came in, I think he had 4 guys on scholarship ahead of him. Trevor graduated early and couldn't really even get in here because you had so many. But is this really, for Justice, probably the most work that you'll be given an early?
Yeah, it's probably right because of the situation we're in now, just with Kendall moving on and Blake moving to tight end. It's opened that window, for those reps and that opportunity, and so yeah, it's I'm sure it will be, the most that guy's going to get, been able to get, but watching Justice work out, he physically fits the part of, being here and belonging, and so we'll be excited to get him those snaps and see how he does.
Do you anticipate it being a problem for Cody splitting time between the two sports?
I don't see it being a problem. I see it being something that we'll all have to manage. With Coach Pete there and Josh, they've already communicated really well through the winter here, and we want them to have success at both, and I know they want them to too. So we'll do the best we can to manage it. And again, so far it hasn't been a problem.
What would you say is the number one thing you want to get accomplished this spring?
There's never one thing. It's just, you know, the overall, you know, team in every aspect to improve. You know, this part, what we've done the last 8 weeks, it's be more powerful, be faster, you know, be stronger, be a more powerful team. And now it'll be, you know, the fundamentals, the disciplines of each position, you know, make improvement. You know, if we make improvement in every position, we're you know, making ourselves, building ourselves a stronger team. So it's competition and improve in every area. But it's really exciting. It's my most probably exciting time of year because you get to see the young guys that we've been seeing in practice now in more competitive situations, fighting for jobs and making those plays. And, you know, not everybody, the outside world gets to see it, but you as a coach start to see it in scrimmages or in team, you know, when we go good against good, you know, you start to see them make those kind of plays. It's exciting, you know, to see young guys start to really figure it out and become ready to play.
You feel like that's kind of part of the reason why they're so hungry? There's some young guys that want to make a name for themselves?
Well, it's always that way. You know, those guys that have played a little bit or haven't played at all are really, you know, chomping at the bit to get out and show they're ready for it, you know, and it's their time now, you know. So that's why it's always so exciting.
Talking about Blake change, and I noticed on the roster you had Sam Grant as a tackle. Can you talk about that move and
yeah,
any other players you might be trying at different positions?
I think Sam's the only. Let me think about that. But Sam really has that frame. You know, he's strong. He's such a tough, strong blocker too. It just fits his personality as well. So. He's up to I believe almost 280, and he moves well, being a former tight end and got the length. So he's really looked good just in the weight room doing our drills, those kind of things, and really a tough, competitive guy. He's one of the toughest kids we have. And the other guy, you know, we had ready to go in the because of injuries. Rashad Favors once in a while at fullback. Really, and we had him all set, and we didn't get to it in the Sugar Bowl, but he practiced in certain sets in the goal line and or you know, short yardage situations at the fullback position. He's probably the strongest guy on the team, and it fit him well. He looked good doing it, so that's something that he'll at times do. He'll still be in the D-line too.
I feel like Daniel Brooks is home. Is it running back now? No more switching for
Yeah, I believe that's Daniel will stay there at running back, and he works hard. Did an awesome job for us on scout teams a year ago, so we'll see what he's, you know, excited to see what he's able to do here.
Last year, this time, I think a lot of people assumed that Cortez Johnson would be one of your starting corners, and Zach Sanchez gets in there and starts all year. What's a guy like him? What's he have to do to kind of get more in the mix? I mean, he's a big guy, big corners.
Yeah, it gets down to performing. You know, if you're ever asking whether it's Cortez or any other position why they're not playing as much as someone else, because that other guy has been performing at a more consistent level. It's no other reason. So it's the same. It's the same with corner. It's the same with linebacker. It's the same at safety, at running back, on and on. So that means you make plays that you have opportunities to make. That means you don't give up plays that you should have made or that the defense is designed to take away. That means you don't bust assignments. That means you get an opportunity to tackle somebody, you tackle them, you know, on and on. So it's who does that the most consistently gets the most snaps.
Coach, I got an interesting question for you, actually from a former player. He said after winning and playing in several national titles, becoming winningest coach in OU history, what is motivating you now?
2014. Every year is different. I don't think about any of that. To be quite honest with you, all I care about is this year. You know, and when this year's done, we'll put it away and think about the next one. So it's all us. I think coaches are all pretty much the same. We're wired that way. As you take it week to week, month to month, and year to year as far as what you've done. But in the end, I'm just excited to build this team to be the best it can here this year.
Bob, you alluded to it earlier, but this is the first time in a while you've had your entire coaching staff back intact. Can you talk about the advantages of that, of bringing back your entire staff?
Well, there's the consistency and continuities there, and I thought these guys really through last year worked together in a great way, in the way they're teaching their techniques and their positions, the way they're communicating in separately in offense and defense, and then how we do a great job, all of these guys too, of communicating across from offense to defense, and what do you need to see this week? How can we help each other? Defense needs to see this, offense needs to see that. All right, how can we fit it into practice? Individual drills, Jerry and Bill going against each other. How do we want to work it today? What are the things each of us need to do? So there's a lot of that's really been positive and strong, and as well as I think too, it's helped us overall recruiting wise, what they've been able to do.
Is that back and forth between the offensive and defensive staffs? Is that somewhat rare?
No, it isn't. Not where I've been. I've always promoted that, and so I can't. No, but there's a lot of dialogue there that each day that they're making sure they're helping each other improve.
Did you find the best snapper you've ever seen after 15 years to offer a scholarship to?
He's really good. So we're fired up about him. It's something that we really need with Austin being gone, and the positive with Wesley is that he can really cover too, which we had with James, the rifleman James Winchester, that we missed last year. Woody was awesome, snapping the ball, but getting downfield and covering people wasn't a big part of his game. So. I'm elated about it, to be honest with you, and his the time that he gets it back in is impressive, and that's a big deal.
Coach, can you talk a little bit?
It's a big deal until you don't have it.
Can you talk a little bit about?
That's wrong. It's not a big deal until you don't have it. That's what I meant to say.
Talk a little bit about Brian Bosworth, Randy Hughes being on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot this morning.
I didn't see that, but I'm excited about it. If that's the case, they're guys that are definitely deserving and that we're proud of here. Randy, of course, great safety here, and then the career he had, I guess, with the Cowboys, and I don't know if anywhere else. But and then Brian, what else needs to be said? The only two-time, Butkus Award winner. That's enough said right there. It's amazing and well deserved. So for both of them.
Remember when you used to get questions about kicker? What did kickers do this time? Honeycutt did so good last year.
Yeah, Michael's an All-America type guy, and I believe this year that'll happen for him. He's been right on the cusp of it, and he may have been on some teams. I don't know overall. I know on the one I was voting on, he was within an eyelash of being a first-team All-American, and probably would have been had he been a senior, So in the end, he's been awesome. The kick he made in the Sugar Bowl was right down the middle when we had to have it, fairly long, but consistent all year. And and then when your own teammates name you captain, that tells you something too, of just what he brings to the team.
Bob, you mentioned throwing DJ Ward out in the spring game last year. As a coach, do you like having that opportunity for guys in front of a crowd in a spring game environment? I know some coaches are getting away with having the actual game.
I know where you're going with this, and I got no comment on it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of reasons why sometimes you can't or don't. Everyone says, "Well, I'd love to have a draft and have my guys go on each side of the ball." We don't have enough players to do it. We don't have enough linemen that are healthy. So now you can have a guy every, taking 5 minutes to change jerseys every other, sometimes. So it's easy to say, why don't they do this? Well, you can't, because you don't have the personnel. Sometimes you may have so many injuries, or you may be thin that I can't afford to have a spring game and get somebody hurt, So there's legitimate reasons why, that I believe as a coach. And I've been on the cusp of that sometimes, some other years here where we're a little bit down. I don't want to take a chance on it. it's all great until someone gets hurt, blows a knee out or something. Then it's like, why'd I do that? So coaches do it for legitimate reasons, because of their personnel usually, and or what they feel's best leading into the year. So the opportunity. I think only one time here I had enough guys across the board that we had a draft, and it was fine. It was good. But other times it didn't work, and it doesn't work for us this year. We'll have to go offense against defense and do the best you can to simulate a game. But in the end, it's just you got to have the players to do it, or the enough depth and numbers and some, because, and I'm not complaining. Sometimes too, because of gender equity, we're only allowed so many players on the team, even walk-ons. We have to, our roster size can't go above 115. And we don't have all those freshmen in yet. So when you're in the spring, you're in a reduced roster, and it isn't that easy to manage all the time.
You said recruiting's been good. Attitude's been good with your team. Have you got an increase in walk-on requests?
We have. We've had a really exciting increase in more interest in walk-on guys that we believe either have legitimate chances to earn scholarships or can really help. And that's positive, because anyone that's followed us, just like Ripkowski's been put on scholarship. I've had guys down through the years, you end up, a major contributor and a starter, you're going to earn a scholarship. And we've had more of that here this year as well. And it's exciting. And some guys coming here this fall as well. Because they'll get the same shot everybody else gets.
Have you had any further run meetings with Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, Baker introduced himself when I got back from recruiting. Came up right up here. I'm like, who's this guy coming after me? Hey, Coach, I'm Baker Mayfield. I said, I heard about you. So excited about him. He's a neat guy. Everybody already, players really enjoy him, and he's been working in there with the other quarterback. And I should have mentioned him there. I just had my scholarship guys on my list right here. So Baker will obviously, as thin as we are in that position, we're elated that he decided to do this, and he'll have his opportunities as well. So we don't discriminate in any fashion here. So he'll have opportunities like everyone else does. And but looking at him running around as an athlete out there, he looks really good. And again, his attitude, work ethic, all that stuff, he fits right in. And I'd noticed the other quarterbacks helping him out, So anyway, we'll see where that goes. And at the time, Baker will tell you he didn't tell anybody. He had his mind made up. This is what he wanted to do, and didn't contact me about it. I guess he didn't want my opinion on what he ought to do.
Do you know why?
I haven't asked him that yet. So. No, from what I understand, he just always grew up an OU fan and of the program in the school.
Did you guys look at him out of high school? I mean, were you aware of him at high school?
I can't remember. You have to ask Josh.
Will you give Blake any reps at quarterback in the spring?
How do guys pick their numbers?
Well, they request. Sometimes it's part of the recruiting process, and you might have to say, well, yeah, but other times it's requested, and then it's run through Brad will come up, our head equipment, Brad Camp will come up and check with me on it, or the position coach. I have a problem with double numbers too, but so if they're going to be any chance to be on the same special team at the same time, then they can't have the same number. And if a guy's already had it, then the younger guy generally has to wait for it. I have to say, all right, here's your other options. Which one do you choose? Until that one becomes available. And the
reason I ask is, it looks like Dominic Alexander switched to number 1, which I guess came open when L.J. Moore left. But they came in together. I just wondered if obviously they both wanted number 1. I didn't know how you solve a dilemma like that.
You know, a lot of times too, I don't recall Dom requesting that when he came, to be honest with you. But a lot of times, generally, what I'll do is I'll wait to see which one's going to play. You don't generally. I won't allow a guy unless no one else wants it to hold a number if you're not playing. So it's always it's a work in progress all the time, massaging those numbers. You got 85 or scholarship guys that all want a single digit. It's kind of hard. Heck, even Jordan Tapp and Jordan Phillips came up requesting a single digit. I said, really? That's not going to look right. I can't. So.
Was it Adrian the first time you broke your double number rule? You had Perk, and then you had him at 28 too on offense.
Could have been.
Was that a recruiting?
I can't. It was it was. You can wear whatever number you want. But generally, too, the young guys understand. Look, and I do tell them this. I also won't let some young guy come in and take your number after you've been playing for 2-3 years. So, if you gotta generally, if there's an issue there where you're going to be on the field at the same time, younger guy gotta wait for it. If the other guy's playing. If he's not playing, now that's a different issue too, you know.
Speaking of Dom, you're, the year before last, you guys were kind of trying to figure out that position in terms of the evolution of the defense against the spreads, and you and Mike were working through some kinks. That's not an issue now. It appears between how well he set himself last year, Frank Shannon coming back, you're pretty much set there, are you not?
Yeah, but we're still thin. We're still recruiting linebackers, but those guys are good players. And Frank Shannon, Dominique had great years. Obviously, at the outside backer, Eric Stryker was sensational. And then the young guys, Jordan Evans gets in there and goes the entire Texas Tech game and played great. Those two true freshmen lead the team in tackles. So. They're all doing good. I'm excited about them. Jordan, Aaron Franklin also. Then we got some younger guys coming in that are going to be good too.
Devontae Bond will fit in there those positions too.
Devontae's really an outside backer, so he's more of a Sam, Jack, either one. We're gonna and a rusher. Long yardage. We'll put his hand down and let him go, or stand him up and let him go.
So he'll be more in striker position.
Yeah, similar to Eric, but but Devontae's, he's a guy though that can match up with tight ends too. He's 250 and running really well, so he's just a little more powerful in that position.
All right, guys.